Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, December the 10th. Very active weather situation setting up for the northeastern part of the nation. It will include some heavy rainfall along the I-95 corridor region, including some thunderstorm activity. Interior snows and powerful winds are quite likely, especially along coastal sections of eastern New England. I think winds can gust past 60 miles per hour or so throughout the eastern part of New England during this upcoming event. And we'll start off here by taking a look at NOAA's nationwide weather warnings map, and we'll take a look in the northeastern part of the nation, and certainly there will be more and more advisories and warnings coming over the next 12 to 24 to 36 hours or so. First of all, there's some purple showing up here. These are winter weather advisories up across northern New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Can certainly get some accumulating snow in this particular setup here. And notice right here, the eastern part of New England, some high wind watches are already showing up here. Those are the light brown, the color scheme here that NOAA uses. High wind watches, I do believe that's well warranted. Again, I believe could be 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts during this upcoming midweek event across eastern New England. Really, those high winds can extend all the way across coastal sections from Long Island down across New Jersey, the eastern part of the Delmarva Peninsula, and into the eastern part of the Carolinas. Meanwhile, early today, lots of thick fog throughout much of the mid-Atlantic region, also out in the Midwest, and even out in the interior west. Some thick fog this morning. Some of the thickest fog we've seen in a long time in places like D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. Not a heck of a lot of rain today in the I-95 corridor region of the Mid-Atlantic. Basically foggy and some light rain or drizzle. The real action gets underway later on tonight and continues throughout much of the day on Wednesday with that heavy rain along the I-95 corridor region. And again, upstate PA, upstate New York, interior New England, there can be accumulating snow with this upcoming storm. Well, I thought we'd take a look here at the forecast map from last night's Zero-Z GFS of total snowfall over the next 5 days. And again, the interior, higher elevation locations of the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S. can certainly get some accumulating snow over the next couple of days. This is with this midweek event. Not much snow, if any, in the I-95 corridor region. We haven't had much snow at all so far in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor, and there could be some snow shower activity for a while later on tomorrow night, but for the most part, any accumulating snow with this upcoming event will be those higher elevation locations from West Virginia to upstate New York to interior New England. Meanwhile, there will be a decent snow event across the upper part of the Midwest from let's say later Friday through the day on Saturday as the storm system moves in that direction. Again, certainly can get several inches of snow in some parts of the upper Midwest early this week. And meanwhile, out in the west, some Rocky Mountain snows and some significant snow here, as usual, showing up over the Sierra Nevada mountains. Again, this is over the next 5 days between now and Sunday morning. Now, let's take a look at the total accumulated precipitation. This is rain, snow, whatever the case may be. This is the liquid equivalent. And the main point I want to make is lots of purple showing up here throughout the eastern part of the U.S. And that is welcome in one sense, because that's 2+ inches whenever you see the purple on this particular forecast map by the Zero-Z GFS. So that's certainly welcome because it's been very, very dry over the past several weeks in places like the Mid-Atlantic region. And 2+ inches is on the table here from this upcoming event. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, flash flood watches may very well go up throughout New England as well. So they have to deal with the heavy rainfall combined with potential 60+ mile per hour winds in parts of New England later on Wednesday into Wednesday night. Meanwhile, out west, a lot of precipitation over California as a Pacific storm system moves in, and it'll produce rain in the low-lying areas and heavy snow in the Sierra Nevadas of eastern California. This, too, is for the next 5 days between now and Sunday morning. Now let's walk through some forecast maps. I wanted to start off with the 850 millibar winds because that is and it certainly will become an important factor in the storm in the northeastern states at midweek. A low-level jet will develop and it will intensify dramatically and likely contribute to some excessive winds, especially along coastal sections of New England. We'll see that in a moment here, where this low-level jet will really peak out right over eastern New England sometime tomorrow night, Wednesday night time frame. Here we are beginning the day, nothing too excessive to begin the day here on Tuesday. We'll move quickly into tomorrow morning and start to see here's some stronger winds showing up. This is at the low levels of the atmosphere, let's say a couple thousand feet off the ground, 2,000 feet or so. And whenever you have strong winds just a couple thousand feet off, there can be enough mixing to bring some of those very high winds down to the surface. That is the concern here. Notice intensification, now purple showing up. That's 64 knots and higher here. Places like New Jersey, Delmarva Peninsula, eastern New England, and then it explodes over the very eastern part of New England by early tomorrow night. This is the forecast map for 7 p.m. tomorrow night, Wednesday night, with excessive winds possible. Places like Boston, Cape Cod, eastern New England, all the way up throughout the state of Maine. So watch out for potential 60-plus mile-per-hour winds in coastal sections of New Jersey later tomorrow and tomorrow night. And again, there can be some powerful winds extending all the way down the coast from the Carolina coastline to the Delmarva Peninsula, New Jersey, and Long Island as well. Well, let's take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast maps. This is beginning the day here on Tuesday. There is indeed an upper level trough to begin the day here, but watch the dramatic changes over the next 24 hours in this upper level trough. Here we go by this evening. Basically what we call a neutral trough axis at this time that drops pretty much from the north to the south with the low pressure center up here. That's what we call kind of a neutral trough axis. But then watch what happens here as we push forward into the early part of Wednesday, midday Wednesday, and finally Wednesday evening. This is what we call a negatively tilted trough axis, when the orientation from the center of the low rides northwest to southeast. That's what we call a negatively tilted upper level trough axis. And what it does is it produces some very significant upward motion kind of on the northeastern flank, and it's moving in this direction. That will produce some very strong upward motion places like DC, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, and throughout the northeast U.S. and mid-Atlantic region during the afternoon and evening hours on Wednesday. That in turn will help to produce some heavy rainfall, strong thunderstorms, and those powerful wind gusts, especially along coastal sections. So a very significant trough swinging in from the southwest to the northeast by later tomorrow night will be a big factor in this upcoming event. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps. Not much going on right now. There is some rain starting to show up here across the southeastern states. As we move through the day today, that starts to pick up in intensity. Here's the forecast map now, 24 hours from now, early Wednesday morning. Low pressure showing up here along a frontal boundary zone. There is a cold frontal system right in this area right here, and low pressure. Notice the millibars, the central pressure at this particular time tomorrow morning, 1003 millibars. It will indeed intensify as that upper level trough starts to go negative. And here we go, now down to a 996 millibar low by midday on Wednesday. Cold enough for some snow across those higher elevations of West Virginia, western Pennsylvania at this time. And we start to see some heavy rain right along that frontal boundary zone, which at this time is edging its way to the east. So again, out ahead of it, some potential strong thunderstorms and certainly some heavy rainfall along the I-95 corridor region. And then that kind of explodes in terms of the heavy rain all the way from the eastern Carolinas to the Delmarva to New Jersey, maybe throughout eastern Pennsylvania as well, later tomorrow afternoon time frame, all the way up into the interior sections of New England at this time. And cold enough for snow across far northern Pennsylvania and the western and maybe the central part of New York State by early tomorrow night. Now, this is when those winds really become quite a concern here. Uh, Early tomorrow night into the late evening hours across eastern New England. Again, watch out for potential 60 plus mile per hour winds. And those strong winds can extend all the way down to the coastal sections from Long Island down to the Carolinas. And on the heels of this cold front will be another very impressive cold blast of air, well below normal temperatures for this time of the year in the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. for Thursday and Friday. This is now by Thursday morning. Very windy day, continuing with its tight pressure gradient between the departing low, now down to 972 millibars, and the incoming high. Very strong pressure gradient. These tight isobars will tell us that the winds will continue to be strong on Thursday. Probably high temperatures, places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, only in the middle 30s with much lower wind chills. That much below normal condition will last right through the day on Friday. Here we go into Friday morning. Still quite cold hanging on Friday. Then things begin to moderate in the eastern half of the nation this upcoming weekend, so that by the time we get to Sunday or so, there may be some rain. Meanwhile, just want to point out this little storm system here by Friday night starts to produce some of that accumulating snow we saw on that snowfall forecast map, and that snow can extend from places like Iowa across Wisconsin and portions of Michigan by the time we get into midday on Saturday. So again, expect some accumulating snow in places like this, the upper part of the Midwest, late Friday night through the day on Saturday. Warm enough for rain on the south side across the Ohio Valley, and then that rain again moves into the mid-Atlantic region by the day on Sunday right here. Farther to the north, cold enough for snow across northern New England early Sunday. So a big event coming to the mid-Atlantic, to the northeast U.S. It really gets underway later tonight, continue through much of tomorrow night. It will include some heavy rainfall, strong thunderstorms, inland snows, and powerful wind gusts, especially across coastal sections of eastern New England, for example. But again, those strong winds, potentially damaging winds, can extend all the way down from Long Island to coastal Jersey, Carolinas, Delmarva Peninsula. That's it for now for ArcfieldWeather.com. This has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.